Have you seen the new Mary Poppins?
No.
You know who cameos at the end?
No.
Dick Van Dyke.
For real?
Yeah, he actually plays the guy. With the on the original one, he had like a big beard. And he played the old dude, even though he's young. He's plays that same dude, but now he's old, so he fits that character now. It's so funny because like the new Mary Poppins is like 30 years into the future from the first one.
So it's still like the Mary Poppins?
It's the Mary Poppins, and it's actually what it's about.
So he plays the same. Dick Van Dyke's still playing his same character.
Yeah.
Oh, the chimney sweep.
No, he wasn't the chimney sweep. The banker, the banker with the big beard.
Oh, that's not Dick Van Dyke's character.
Yeah, it is. Dick Van Dyke. He played like 3 different people in that movie. Did you not know that?
No.
He has a really big beard and white hair on the original one.
So yeah. He plays
the banker.
He plays the banker who's like struggling and walking around as like the old grumpy man.
He plays that same guy.
Oh wow! But he just has his own look now.
Yeah, he's just like he really is old.
Hey, thanks for watching this week's episode. It is an exciting episode. I'm very excited to talk to you about this because you don't know anything about this topic.
I know a little bit, I always know a little bit.
How about this? You cut me off when I tried to tell you earlier.
Okay.
So we're talking today a little bit about one of the steps or one of the habits. It's from the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the habit we're looking at is the third habit, which is putting first things first. So that's a pretty...
things first?
Putting first things first. That's what it's called.
Okay.
I'm going to explain it to you. Maybe you've read the book, or maybe you know this principle. A lot of corporations and business people will teach it to employees or whatever. In regards to leadership, in regards to being a better worker, and even just a better person all around, a more healthy lifestyle. So there's all kinds of really practical tips in the book, but this one stands out because it's it's something that people don't normally think of. There's one step that talks about budgeting your time well, and doing it on a weekly basis, not a weekly basis, looking at your calendar in week chunks instead of day chunks or month chunks, and categorizing correctly. It talks about there's a number of things it talks about, but the third habit is putting first things first, and it is talking about these people getting on a cycle of, say, we're going to put this in the workforce situation because that's a lot what this plays into, but it also plays into personal life. So a lot of people get in this situation, this cycle in at work or in their life where they would wake up in the morning, they're really tired from the day before, so they don't get up early or anything like that. They get to work, they start to try to work on a few things that they've that's on their list to work on, but then their boss comes in and tells them, hey, I need you to do this project and I need you to do it right now, and it's very important. And then they spend the rest of the day trying to get this one project or this one task done that wasn't even on their list in the first place, but their boss came and told them, this is the thing that has to get done right now, it's really important. And then, so they're stressed out about that all day, they're trying to get it done. They get it done at the end of the day, in just the bare minimum time. They might even have to work longer because of this one thing. And then you might go home and then you're tired, and so you get fast food. It's not a healthy choice. And then you get home and you just watch TV and you just chill out, and then you go to bed at probably a little bit later than you should and repeat the next day. And that can be a really unhealthy cycle. And so what this step does is it puts you in a state of mind. A lot of times what I always say things is really the biggest thing that changes people and changes their habits and changes maybe unhealthy habits that they create is perspective. I hold pretty strong to that. And having this perspective shift actually can cause people to think about things differently. And so what it does is it breaks up everything you do in a day into 4 different categories. And it's on a Y and X axis. And so on the top of the Y axis, it's important, and then at the bottom it's unimportant. On the x-axis, it's urgent and then not urgent. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you have, if you look at it at a cross diameter or whatever, you see important and urgent as the first box. You see important but not urgent. You see not urgent but important. No.
So it's essentially putting what's important and what's not.
Yes. I'm getting it backwards a little bit. But you'd have to read the book, or you can watch YouTube videos that is like tutorials of it, and they describe it really well. The biggest thing that helped me a lot was if you're in any kind of leadership or even just in personal life, especially at work, that important but not urgent box is where you want to live the majority of the time. But anything like your boss or something happening in your day can derail you from doing that and being shoved into the second category, which is urgent and important. And that's when you end up putting out fires. You end up being in the cycle of constantly having to try to keep up instead of actually getting ahead, actually having vision for your future and your work and what you're working on. And so a couple things that I've seen me be able to apply to my life is you have to fight to stay in that second box. Otherwise, you're always going to find yourself shifting into that first category. And it's not a healthy place to stay in that first category all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Kind of prioritizing.
Prioritizing, yeah.
Yeah, that word. Things that you're doing and what you want to get accomplished for a day.
Yeah.
And so you're not letting other things kind of make you drift off from that.
Yeah. And so then also you have to think about like, okay, what happens if you are trying to stay in that second category? Important but not urgent. And then something happens where it's derailing you. And a lot of times, especially if you're in a position of leadership, management, or you have anybody that's helping you do what you can, it's a lot easier to delegate some of those things. If something's delegated to you or something's put on your plate to handle, if you're working with a team, if you're in any kind of leadership, and you're able to delegate between a couple different people everything that's on your plate, that keeps you in that second box, that's going to make things easier for the organization you're working for, or easier for yourself, and even easier to the people that you're delegating it to, because a lot of times if you're not like the number one seat at a company or whatever, a lot of times the people that are below you are looking to you to find work to do, or to stay busy, or even to just be working on projects. And so delegating those urgent things that are important to multiple people is easier for everyone across the board.
Yeah.
Whereas instead of you taking the blunt force of that and never being able to actually focus on the future, on the vision, on the things that you're in a position to focus on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts about those?
That's definitely a good concept and everything. I know for myself, I've not read this book that you're talking about, but for myself, what I like to do, not even reading the book or anything, what I try to do, I'd be like, hey, I need to get this accomplished. So usually I get on my phone, I make a list of what I need to get accomplished, and then I kind of go back to my phone, kind of make a list. It's like, get these things done today, and then I make them. But I don't have, right now I'm not working anywhere where there's a lot of people underneath me kind of pulling me different directions, doing this or that. But this is a little bit off topic from what you're saying, but kind of with it. I know for me, when I get up in the morning, the first thing I like to do is I have two different things that I'm going to do before, let's say I'm going to go into work at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I want to do these two things for an hour or 30 minutes each. And then once I do that, I like to put on headphones, and while I'm getting ready for work, I like to kind of get in a mindset to go to work, but get stuff accomplished, listen to things I need to get accomplished.
Like podcasts or something.
Podcasts, but not just podcasts that are pointless. Get more pointless things, I know.
Actually stuff you can learn.
And that kind of puts me in a good mindset.
That's good.
Going forward during the day.
That is a healthy habit. You mentioned something about having a list of stuff that you have to get done for the day. Even adding to the schedule or the planning, the daily planning that you already do. And that is prioritizing on your daily plan so that you're getting things done in the order of prioritizing. Do you find yourself in a situation where you'll come to the end of the day and you haven't accomplished everything on your list? This is actually something that I learned from Dave Ramsey reading his book, EntreLeadership. And what he does is he's a very busy guy, and his schedule is actually made a lot of times for him. There are things that he knows he has to get done that he's put on himself. There's also things that he is worked into his schedule by his assistants that they have planned for him. That's a part of him being a big business owner. And so one thing that he does is that it only takes about 10 minutes in the morning at the most. You write out everything you want to get done, everything in your head that you know you need to get done. And writing it out is important. Actually, physically writing it out more than even typing it, because when you write it out, it gives you a cognitive release, and so your body, your brain, everything about you actually relaxes because you no longer have to remember it. You can forget. You allow yourself to be willing to forget to do it or forget about it because you have written it down. You can always look back to your list to remember it. And then what he does is he writes everything 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the way down the list. Then what he does is he reviews the list and he just looks at each item and says, what's a priority that has to get done first? And so like 4 or 5 items on his list, he'll mark as A. When things start happening where I don't have to get it done till later in the day, or I don't have to really get it done till tomorrow, it's not a high priority, he'll put B. And then the next thing, it just has to be done before the end of the week, it becomes like C. And so he now has a priority list on top of his regular to-do list.
Yeah.
And so he's not just working one down because he just wrote them out when they came to memory. And so now he actually has a priority. So now he knows where to start, what to go to next, what to go to after that, and he's able to actually visualize how productive his week is being, how productive his day is being. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
That's something that I've implemented myself along with doing a weekly plan. So I actually, allowing me even to write in a plan, knowing I have to do something on Thursday, writing it out on Thursday is also important because it helps me not to forget, especially at work when you're constantly being given a lot of things that you have to remember.
Yeah, definitely.
So, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I definitely think that's I'm not here to argue about it or anything because you're just telling me the book, but that is different. That is definitely a good technique, I guess, to implement in your life to get stuff done and to get stuff accomplished and just become a better, organized with your life and just move forward and not get stuff accomplished.
You had mentioned in a previous show that you said a big part of that is budgeting your time well. You had mentioned that, and I know that's a big thing for you. It should be a big thing for everybody, but even taking some of those things where really smart people have learned in a lot of ways the best way to do that, to budget your time. Yeah,
and
that's
I
helpful.
think the average person, they're like, I have to be somewhere. I have to do this in 30 minutes to an hour. I have to be somewhere, but I still have 30 minutes to an hour. I'm gonna do this pointless thing. I know a lot of people the one I'm thinking of is Elon Musk, or he has those 15 minutes where he's like, I get 15 minutes. Let's do this now. You know, it's something that someone else would be like, okay, we'll get this accomplished when I get finished with the thing I'm doing in an hour. Be like, no, you have that hour still. So even if you can't finish it, get a chunk of it done, and then you'll only have a little bit left when you come back.
Yeah, that's true. It ultimately makes you accomplish more.
That's true.
The other thing is interesting, going back to that graph. The bottom layer is unimportant and not urgent. These things that it talks about in the book, actually, these are the kind of habits that ends up getting people fired for jobs. So if you're doing things that are unimportant and not urgent, so so maybe in your, at work, you're unimportant and it's not even necessary, like you're on social media or YouTube and you're doing that kind of stuff at work, or you're just texting, your friend or something of that nature. These are the kind of habits that are unhealthy, and they actually can lead to you losing a job or not being hired because you don't have a good track record. Even something as simple as coming in a few minutes late to work.
Yeah.
I can't stress how much, and this is just a practical tip. I know me and you care about this a lot.
Yeah.
But even just being on time to work.
That is
Like
true.
in the film world, and this is another thing. I feel like I want to go on a tangent, but honestly, even in the film world, if you're on set at call time, which is what normal people, if you just look at it, think, oh, that's the time I have to arrive.
Mm-hmm.
If you're showing up at that time, you're late. If you're showing up past that time, well, what you should be doing to get on time, you should be there probably about 45 minutes before call time starts. Because call time means you're ready to work at that time. And then if you're at even a minute late past that call time, then you're fired. I mean, that's just a general rule. Call time on a film set is so important because call time means you're ready to work. It doesn't mean that's when you pull up in your car. And so even just a regular job, if you're having a habit of not prioritizing just showing up to work on time or early, that's extremely dangerous for your job, for your career, and for you personally, because you're allowing yourself to think that's okay.
And I know for our culture and stuff, I know some people, like, they think it's funny, or not funny, but like, you'd be like, oh, I arrive, when I arrive, they're going to get started, especially like even actors and stuff, they can't do the film without us.
Yeah.
So they're like, when I show up is when we'll start. Be like, no, it's better to.
Yeah. And honestly, even moving forward, there's been a couple situations where people have been late on set, even for ours. And the thing is, I can't fire anybody because we are working mostly with people who just are volunteering their time, which we're super grateful for, and I'm not going to punish them for that in any way. But a lot of times it is very disrespectful of everyone's time if you're late, especially in the film world, because that is one of the biggest kick in the groin things that you can do to anybody. You know what I mean? If you're having to be waited on, especially if you're not even a big name in the production, like if you're a camera operator or if you're a lighting guy, these are the kind of things that you should be the first person to show up. You should be obnoxiously early, like 2 hours before call time, to be ready and to be there to know that everything's ready to go. And that's just one thing that I would encourage everyone. Maybe you already prioritize being on time, but I would encourage you, even if you're only on time and don't be late, I would encourage you to make a habit of being 15, 30 minutes early, even to your job, because that kind of stuff stands out. That kind of stuff people notice. And it also, even just adding to your work, especially like if you're on salary, you're not getting paid to work extra. But a lot of times that just shows that you value the stuff that you're working on, that you would be willing to show up early to get ahead before even everyone else is showing up.
Yeah. So I guess just let us know what you think.
Yeah.
Things you do to better organize your time, things to better your work.
Yeah, your routine, your flow at work, how you are seeing the stuff that you're actually working on, all those different things. Let us know if this is helpful, and encourage you to either watch some YouTube videos about the 7 Habits for Highly Effective People book, or you can actually just pick up the book, or maybe I'm sure there's an audio version that they could probably get their hands on, and just read that, because that is full of really good information that's very helpful.
Yep. So thanks for watching this week.